everybody? My name's Chris Warren. Welcome to the You Should Be Worried podcast. Unfortunately, Matt and Ben are off in other states doing comedy stuff, so it's going to be the episode nobody asked for, the Chris Warren solo experience. So welcome. We're not in studio. As you can see, we're in my home studio, which is just my apartment. I think it looks pretty nice. Like, if you've ever watched any of my content, any of my history stuff on Instagram, you might recognize the background. It's just me and, like, 3 lights. So I'm going to do my best today. Today was actually my first day of a new job, which after 6 months of being full-time comedy, and by that I mean I was unemployed for 6 months. The government was paying me not to die. Let me tell you, work sucks. I'm not a fan. I didn't really enjoy work very much. It's a new sales job, which is, I'm selling software again, so it's a new experience. And let me tell you, I hate this new thing that companies do where they try to convince you that work is fun. Like, I got an email the day before I came in where it was from the owner of the company, and he was like, "Hey guys, we're a fun company, okay? We don't want you to think we're one of these stuffy companies, okay? The dress code is business casual, okay? If you come in here with a tie, we'll cut it off, okay? We have fun around here. We shoot each other with Nerf guns when we make sales." And I just think that is very condescending and makes me infuriatingly mad. Just be open about the fact that you are essentially my slave master and we hate each other. That would be less condescending. Like my old company, Indeed, I can say the name now. I'm past the time where they can sue me. I used to work for the job website Indeed, which was ironic that I actually had to use my old job, the Indeed site, to find this new job, and it was kind of like going through your ex's Instagram, just constant reminders. It wasn't good. But Indeed used to do this thing where they wanted so badly to be Google. They so badly wanted to be Google. They wanted to convince you that they were a fun tech company, even though they were not like, making video games. They were making a website where you look for jobs on your break because you're so mad at your boss you want to scream. So on lunch break you go sit in your car in the parking garage, scream and cry a little bit, look at like 4 jobs, half-ass apply to them and just go, fuck it, it's too much work, I'll just keep working here for another month and then I'll figure it out. That is what Indeed is. But they wanted to be Google so bad, like they had a cereal bar. You know how gross that is? They had a cereal bar to be like, you can get Lucky Charms whenever you want, man. You don't even have to sign in. You just go down, get some Lucky Charms. Man, we're a fun company. We have foosballs in the break room. And yeah, I just don't like that new energy that corporate America has where they want to convince you we're all friends and it's all like a super fun time, I don't think that's what work should be. I don't know why I'm holding this mic, by the way. This isn't plugged into anything. This is an old XLR mic I have from a solo podcast, ironically enough, that never got off the ground. I just think doesn't it feel like more legit? Doesn't it feel like Ben left this for me? The sound's just coming off the camera. I hope it's not terrible. I'm not a good sound. I'll try my best, but I hope it sounds good. The other thing about my new job is it's in person, which sucks because I like working remote because then you cannot do your job and just watch YouTube videos and masturbate all day. But I actually have to go in the office now, and with that business casual attire, which you can see I'm in right now, I couldn't wear my hat. They wouldn't allow me to wear my hat, so I have to wear a yarmulke because I think it makes God mad if I don't. And let me tell you, yarmulkes look dumb. We've been over this on the podcast. People are like, "Oh, Chris, I've never seen you in a yarmulke." Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's not a good look. I don't know why my community got together at one point and said, what if we had the gayest hat on earth? No one will want to beat us up ever again if we wear the gayest little doily hat on earth. So I had to go around with a ponytail and a yarmulke and a mustache all day. I caught a look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, without a flat brim hat, this look kind of falls apart. It's not good. I don't look like I should be allowed to be here. So that was a little traumatizing. Also, I came with, the employee agreement you sign whenever you start a new job. It's all a bunch of bullshit, like you won't steal stuff, you're agreeing to what you're being paid, all that, so you don't sue them. I brought in my employee agreement and they're like, "Oh, hey, did you get this notarized?" And I was like, I signed it. And they're like, no, notarized by like a legal notary. And I had not. So I had to leave the office at 8:30 in the morning because the boss wasn't in. So it was just my manager. And he was like, well, man, the boss left pretty clear instructions that this needs to be notarized. So I can't show you any company documents or train you to get that done, bro. So I went out in the rain at 8:30 in the morning to the Wells Fargo down the street, the bank, and I asked if they had a notary, because banks can do that, and they said yeah. And I meet with the notary, and he is an old Jewish man named Ari, and he saw my yarmulke, because again, I was in that at the time. And he was like, oh, are you Jewish? Did you have a good New Year's? Because, last week it was Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year's. Happy year 5,700, whatever it is. And normally I love Jewing out with another Jew, right? It's fun. It doesn't happen for me that often. And because I'm a convert, it feels really validating. I get to share all this weird autistic level knowledge I have on Judaism that never comes up casually. But this is the one time I didn't have time, Ari. I couldn't do that day. I had to get back to work so they didn't fire me on the first day. Also, you cannot be a Jew named Ari and work at the bank. That is not a good look for us, Ari. You gotta find like another profession, I mean, I guess then I'm there. I'm in entertainment. I do stand-up comedy, which is arguably a more Jewish profession. So that's like the pot calling the kettle black, I then came back to the office, and I meet this kid who's a BDR, which for those on sales, like a business development rep. It's kind of like the first job a lot of people get in sales, where you just kind of call to do initial like cold calling and set up appointments for the real salesman. And he was a nice kid. He was like 23, first job right out of college. And he was like, yeah, man, I just love sales. I can't wait to like get into this industry and like go make this my career and my life. And just like, if you have any knowledge from your years in sales companies, getting fired, just let me know, man. And nothing has made me more depressed in life than seeing a seemingly normal young man get excited about a corporate career. It's like, you should hate this job. You should hate any job you have at 23. You should want to get out of it. You should want to stop doing it. You should only be doing it so that you can drink at night, so you can get alcoholically blacked out at the bar with 3 people you call your friends that really you don't know anything about each other. I might be projecting my own experience in my early 20s, but that was, for a while, a good time. I would work a sales job that I was on a lot of 1v1's at. And then I would, no prescription, and then I would go to this bar called Bill's Crossroads, which I think I've talked about on the podcast, but it was like a working class bar, like, a lot of blue collar guys, a lot of like construction workers and plumbers and stuff like that. They were all in their like 40s, 50s, 60s. And I would show up there as like a 24-year-old in a suit and buy everyone Boilermakers, and we would get really drunk. By the way, if you're ever in a bar and you see someone order a Boilermaker, they're an alcoholic. That is an alcoholic drink. It is just a Budweiser with a shot of whiskey or vodka in it. It tastes disgusting. You only drink it to get drunk faster. That was my normal drink regimen is I would go there and I would get, they knew me after a certain point, I would get 3 shots of tequila, right? Immediately, give me 3 shots of tequila. I'd sit down at the bar, I'd already be there, I'd take them all back to back, like in the course of 2 minutes. And then a big, like, double gin and tonic right after to wash it down. And man, that's great. Then after that, you start having some Boilermakers with your 50-year-old construction worker friends, and they tell you about all the motorcycle accidents that killed their friends. And it's great. And if you stay late enough at Bill's Crossroads, you can smoke cigarettes inside, because the bartender's a woman that's been there for thousands of years. And you can tell at one point she was hot, and now this is her life. So ladies, listen, if you're a hot lady, and I'm not judging here, but if you're a hot lady out there, you're in your 20s, you're bartending, it's all fun, it's cool. You'll become this woman. You will just stay there, and it won't be fun and cool in your 30s and 40s. And your patrons will all age with you, because right, every old hole in the wall dive bar, at one point usually was like the hip, cool new bar on the block where all the college kids went at one point. And then as they got older, they kept going there. And then it became not cool anymore because now you have all these 30-year-olds in there. And the staff also stayed there, and everyone ages together. And it goes from like a cool hip college bar to like a middle-aged working bar to like a sad old biker bar like Bill's Crossroads. So that's just my advice to you young ladies out there. Oh, and then the best is sometimes if you stayed long enough and you gave her Xanax, I would always have like a bag of like 20 Xanax on me. Then she would let you smoke inside. So that was fun. I also gave a couple of the older guys in there Xanax because they were like, "What the fuck's that?" And I'm like, "It's basically like a Quaalude. You guys like those?" And we would take the Xanax. And then I remember one night, it's a haze of a night, right? Because it was back with full alcoholism. We came back to my apartment and we played Madden. And let me tell you, at the time, I didn't have Madden. They wanted to play it because that was the only game that their like 50-year-old brain could comprehend. So I bought it on the PS4 like online store and downloaded it. And while we were waiting for it to download, and this is at like 1 in the morning on a Tuesday, we drank beers in my kitchen. And then we played Madden for like 2 hours. And then these two 50-year-old men drunk drove home. And to this day, I love those men. They're great guys. They're probably dead. They're probably dead. I'm also glad they didn't molest me. You know, I'm just inviting 50-year-old burly construction workers into my apartment. I'm drunk. I'm easy to take advantage of. And that was back when I was like 120 pounds. You know, I was doing a lot of cocaine. That could have gone different, is what I'm saying. So if you invite old men to your house to play Madden, make sure you have Madden first. It was very embarrassing. The other person I met at my office, other than that nice young man who wants to make a career of sales, which to be fair to him, you know, when I started sales, I was doing a lot of cocaine, and even though I was selling like Microsoft software to the Rhode Island government, I thought I was in Wolf of Wall Street. I thought I was Jordan Belfort. Like, I was like, somehow I'm going to make more money than this entire office has ever made any year ever as a collective by myself, and I'm going to buy a yacht. Because that's what happens when you're 23 and you go into the office doing cocaine in the parking garage at 6 in the morning. You know, that'll happen. But I also met this nice young lady that was there. It was a similar situation. You know, she was like 22, 23, just graduated college. It was like her first real, you know, adult job in the corporate world. And I was talking to her, and she told me that she lives with traffic like an hour and a half away. So she drives an hour and a half to the office and then an hour and a half home. So that's 3 hours of commuting in addition to the 9-hour work, which also, by the way, whatever happened to 9 to 5s? I remember that all the songs working 9 to 5, everything's you work from 9 to 5 o'clock. And every job I've had as an adult is a 9 to 6 or an 8 to 5. They've robbed us of another hour, because I guess your hour lunch break no longer counts. It used to count, and now it doesn't. So that's something that's annoyed me greatly, is that we're working more for less money now. But this young lady was, so she does that 3-hour commute to the office, works this 9-hour day, and then I was like, oh, well, that sounds rough. Like, what do you do when you're not, like, what do you do for fun? And she's like, oh, well, then on Friday nights, I work at a brewery, and I also work at the brewery all Saturday and all Saturday night. And then on Sundays, I go to church, and then I go to my grandma's, and I take care of my nieces and nephews so my aunt can have a break. Which, you know, to be fair, very wholesome to do all that. But I asked her, like, why, so you have no free time? And she's like, well, like every other Sunday I have maybe like half the day. I have like 6 hours. And I'm like, why are you doing this? She said, oh, because I'm saving up money. I'm living with my parents. I'm saving up all this money. I'm working towards the future. And one day it's all going to be worth it. And that's just not, I didn't have the hard tell, like, I'm going to have to tell her eventually if I keep working there. It's like, that's not how life works anymore, especially in America. There was a time from like the mid-40s to like the end of the 80s, right? You had like a good, like almost 40-year run where you, as a middle-class person, could work and create wealth because you worked and you made enough money that you could do things like buy a house after like 2 or 3 years of working, and like buy new cars every couple of years, and like send your kids to college without it being a huge massive strain, and go on vacation and do all these things. Like, you could be a normal guy with like a median income and you could build wealth, right? You could make enough money to buy property and properly invest and create wealth. And that America no longer exists. That was never an option for my generation. These younger, because I guess these guys are like Gen Z now, right? They're all like 22, 23. Definitely not an option for your generation, miss. Because now with inflation and the way the wages are, you're living paycheck to paycheck as an average person. You can't save up money to buy a house. The only people I know personally who are buying houses make like $200,000, $300,000 a year as a household. Like, you know, it's like the guy's a computer engineer and the woman's a lawyer. And even they're like, to live in a place where the school system is not horrible, because if you want to have kids, like, you gotta buy, like, I'm in the Northeast, I'm in Connecticut, so it's like $600,000 bare minimum, probably $700,000-$800,000 for a house. So even if you're making great money, like, you can't just work a couple years and buy that. You can work a couple years and save up like 20, 25 grand, maybe 30 grand, and put a down payment. And then because you put down such a small down payment because you were living paycheck to paycheck because the cost of living is so high, then your interest on that loan, that mortgage, is so high that you'll virtually never pay off the house. You'll die and the house will go to the bank and your kids will be left with nothing. So I hate to tell you, young lady, there's no, this future you're doing this for, that you're sacrificing your 20s for, doesn't exist. You're gonna get to like 35 after a decade of doing all this hard work, and your money's gonna be devalued by inflation, and any sort of stock portfolio or investments you made are going to have either just kept up with inflation or they're gonna have completely fucked you. The only way to create wealth now really is to like basically own a micro business. Like, we say small business, but I'd say like a micro business, you know? Like, this is kind of a really unprofitable micro business. Like, you know, me, Matt, and Ben, we invest our time, we have a brand, okay? We market, we're out there. It doesn't make very much money, but like, do something like that, you know? I think the era of crypto's over. You missed out on that. The era of selling drugs seems to kind of be over. Drugs are so cheap now. When I was doing drugs were expensive and you had to meet a weird guy in a parking lot to get them. And now you can just go to, like, drugs have become corporate. Like, you can just go to a store and buy weed. So that era's over. You can't really do any crime because, like, cameras everywhere. So really there's not many ways, unless you have connections or get on the ground floor of a brand new idea. Like, if you somehow discover the new Google, you could do that, but the chances of you doing that are basically none, unless you're in that industry. Whatever industry you're in, look at what the next thing that's going on in your industry is, and use your inside knowledge to take a best educated guess and try to get on the ground floor of that. But yeah, other than that, you're not going to build wealth. You're sacrificing your 20s for nothing. You should be drunk in a dive bar with two dudes playing Madden and talking about the 80s Jets. Okay, that's what you should be doing with your 20s. I have been doing some comedy. I've been traveling around, and I went to Detroit like 2 weeks ago to do a show out there with Robbie. Shouts out Robbie, he's hilarious. You should all go check out Robbie the Fire Bernstein. But you know, when I was out there, we were on this like farm, because that's where the show was. And the guy on the farm was super nice. His name was Jesse. He was a cool dude. He's like one of those off-the-grid guys. Like, he figured it out. He knows you can't build wealth, so the best you can do is try to get out of the whole capitalist system. And he raises pigs. He had like 3 pigs. And I was like asking questions about the pigs, because if you know me, I go crazy for a small animal. I love a small animal. And he was telling me that when he grew up, he worked on pig farms in the summer, like of high school. Like, that was his high school, like, first job. He wasn't in this corporate America gig like these soft Gen Z kids I'm working with. He was out there castrating pigs, apparently. That was his job at the farm, is he would hold the pig, he put it in like a full Nelson, and then another 16-year-old kid would cut off the pig's testicles. And that's how they made their money. But he was telling me that you had to be careful on the pig farm because apparently pigs are omnivores, which means they eat mostly vegetables and oats and stuff, but they will eat meat. Like if a baby bird gets injured by a pig, it will gobble that thing up. And apparently that applies to humans too. Like if they come up to you and they're like sniffing and nibbling on your pants, they're not being cute. They're trying to see if they can eat you, you know? And so he was telling me these horror stories of like old hog farmers would get to be like 50 or whatever and their bodies destroyed by years of farming. And they'd go into the pig pen and the pigs would just like knock them over and like dogpile. Like 20, 30 pigs would just dogpile them and eat them alive. Like, you know, like a zombie film. I don't know, I don't really have anything else to say about that. That just has kept me up a little bit. But you know, that's why pigs aren't kosher. With Yom Kippur coming up, for those that celebrate, if you're watching this, it's this weekend. It's so you have Jewish New Year's, which is Rosh Hashanah, and then you have Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, which is like a week later. Now that it's the New Year, you atone for all your sins and try to start the New Year fresh and pure and like be a better person, reflect on what you did bad, so maybe you don't do it again or you improve. It's a pretty cool holiday. I'll be in temple for like 8 hours over the weekend, so it's, you know, I'm obligated to. But you know, it's got me thinking like, what could I do better in my life? And what am I doing wrong? Like, I look back on my 20s and have so many regrets. I guess they all brought me to where I am now. So I guess it was all fine. But like, what will I look back now that I'm in my 30s? When I'm in my 40s, what am I going to look back on my 30s and wish I had done different? So reflect. Reflect on what you've done wrong. And remember that the Day of Atonement is to cleanse you of your sins against God, the big man. But you cannot use Yom Kippur to get God to absolve you of your sins against other people, other humans, because those sins are between you and those people. So you have to go atone and make personal amends to them. So just think about someone I guess you owe an apology or an honest conversation with. Reach out to them and have that. And if you know me and you feel like you owe me one of those, don't. I don't want to hear it. I'm petty. I'm bitter. Okay? I've moved on from a lot of stuff and I've buried it and I'm fine now and I don't think about it. But if you come try to apologize to me, I will not accept it. I just won't. I don't wish ill will on you. I just don't think I don't want to forgive you. I don't think what you did is okay. Unless you're willing to make it right. I think that's different. If you're willing to do something, like I want you to come and apologize, and this is how I try to live my life, right? So it's not a double standard. Like, I don't ever want to go just apologize to someone, be like, oh, I'm so sorry, so that it makes me feel better, you know? I more like, you gotta make it right. Okay, so you feel bad, you're just apologizing for yourself to feel better about yourself, really. So can you do something about the wrong you did, right? So if it's like you stole money from someone or fucked them over in a business deal, compensate them financially, right? If you stole something, give it back. If you ruin an opportunity for someone, maybe help find them a new opportunity. But unfortunately, there are some things you do in life that you can't make right. You know, you can apologize, but there's really no going back on some of the things you do. I feel like that kind of ended on a dark note. I didn't mean it to. Just Yom Kippur has got me really thinking deeply. And for everyone in the comments who's Jewish, I know I'm mispronouncing it. I mispronounce every Jewish word, okay? I didn't grow up with Yiddish-speaking parents. I apologize, okay? I'm just an Irish guy that wanted to be Jewish so bad that I willed myself into it against all odds. So I'm kind of a miracle, all right? Give me that. Well, guys, it's been a great episode of the You Should Be Worried podcast. Next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. We'll have Matt back in studio. We'll have Ben back in studio. We'll be in the studio. We'll probably have a Malcolm appearance. That'll be fun. But I hope that as a stopgap measure, you enjoyed the Chris Warren episode of the podcast. And to all out there, I hope you had a great Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year's, and I hope you're going to have a great Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, coming up here this weekend. And as for me, I got some history videos coming out this week. I'd love if you check it out. I love if you would like, comment, share, subscribe. Honestly, nothing would make me laugh harder than if this episode of the podcast got the most views possible. Do you know how petty and funny that would be if I just got to tell Ben and Matt the episode they weren't on that I did by myself has like 10,000 views? That would be great. So if you could do that, yeah, there'll be some chances to see me this week. Check out my Instagram at Chris Warren Comedy and my TikTok. I post all my dates every week on Instagram, so if you want to come see me, I mostly am in the Northeast, but sometimes I pop out to weird places. I was in Detroit the other week, West Virginia the week before that, so I'm around. If you want me to come to your area, DM me. If we can find a location and make the numbers work, we'll do it. We'll have fun. I'll go anywhere. But guys, that's been the Chris Warren episode of the You Should Be Worried podcast. We love you, and we hope to see you next week when Matt and Ben are back.